I saw gameplay of Marvel's Avengers and man, it was awesome. Behind closed doors at E3 2019 they showed the gameplay that basically puts the trailer that they already released together. I had my laptop with me and wrote down a ton of notes that I want to discuss here in this video, so let's get into it. Would be awesome if you could leave a like on the video as it shows your support, and let's go. I'm doing a special E3 2019 giveaway for a game of your choice for a platform of choice, so including Marvel's Avengers. So follow the link in the pinned comment for a chance to win, and be sure you are a subscriber of the channel before you enter. If you win, then I will reach out and share a pre-order code for the game that you choose. And I can totally see why I would go with Marvel's Avengers that is launching on May 15th, 2020. Because again, the game looked very promising in the 30-minute or so demo that I saw. So I immediately asked after the show if the gameplay would be released online, and they weren't sure or would not tell me. Like, I would not be surprised if they did a Cyberpunk 2077 approach, where they show the game first off behind closed doors and then release the footage like after Gamescom, so in late August or September. I really hope that's the case, because again, it looked really good and killed a lot of my doubts, so I'm sure it will do the same for you, at least regarding the story campaign part of this game, because yes, you can play this game solo, although there seem to be some multiplayer only parts here and there as well, likely some group only activities. Like, I don't think they've said group only activities themselves, but when asked if you could play the game solo like all the parts, they would say most of the game. So I totally think there are some group activities in this game. It's a live service game, of course, after all, but it should feature a story campaign with cinematic storytelling, and if this mission is any indication, then we're in for a real treat. This is really comparable to the quality of Marvel's Spider-Man, so that is very cool to see. They did not say, but I think they showed very likely the first mission of the game. It started at Avengers Day, just like the trailer, where they celebrated the opening of a new headquarters in San Francisco, and then the hell broke loose. Iron Man and Thor are going to check it out first, and at one point both heroes split and you suddenly control Thor, flying through the air, preparing to land, and you can actually do a sort of smash on the ground as an entree, and then you will be fighting a ton of these soldiers. So yes, since there's no gameplay of this, I will just tell you everything and try to make the things that you see here on screen as interesting as possible. Thor as a character looks really awesome. His fighting style really reminds me a lot of Kratos from the PS4 God of War games. Like, you throw your hammer away, you can of course call it back, but also if you throw your hammer away and do not call it back, then you will be fighting with your fist. You can also charge the hammer up and then throw it and immediately call it back. It all looked very good. There were these boulders in the level that blocked the way. Easily smash them and you can continue. There were civilians trapped under a truck. You just simply grab the truck and throw it away to help the civilians. Kind of similar to Spider-Man PS4. Thor could also do this insane thunder attack, where lightning would surround him and hit the enemies that were near him. But overall, he was doing a lot of melee attacks with Mjolnir, and of course also throwing that for ranged attacks. At one point, Iron Man joins, because first you were like fighting these enemies alone. You see Iron Man do some cool moves, but before you take control over Iron Man, we see Thor first do this amazing, insane ability where all the enemies lift up in the air and then you immediately take them out. It looked really cool. And now we're flying as Iron Man, chasing enemies on the Golden Gate Bridge. There are explosions everywhere, cars are flying around. We got Black Widow on the phone. You see in the top right a sort of audio signal where she is talking, and then you land. And I really enjoyed the humor in this game, kind of the one-liners, because Iron Man lands and says, "So, which one of you B-movie actors shot at me?" Something along those lines. I thought it was pretty cool to see the sort of humor we come to expect from the Avengers also in this game. Iron Man does what you expect, he shoots from his hand. He can charge it up as well and makes things explode in the environment. And the attack we actually saw in the trailer, with like the beam coming from his chest, is his R1 ability. And that is the thing, you have an R1 ability, an L1 ability, and I think the ultimate ability that is like in the middle that has R1 and L1. Like, I'm 100% sure that you have one ability for R1 and one for L1, but not entirely sure if the middle ability, the ultimate ability, was R1 plus L1. Also, it was kind of unclear how these abilities triggered. Like sometimes you had them available and sometimes when switching to another character they were unavailable, they were like on cooldown. Also when you use them they were on cooldown but for a pretty short period of time. I really think that they just haven't figured this out yet, so for the purpose of this demo it was kind of random, but I'm not entirely sure. What I do know is that the combat seems to be way more focused on your basic attacks because you were not really using R1 and L1 that often, because you could already do a ton of stuff without really using these abilities. Like Iron Man also, as one of his basic attacks, had these blue rockets that would follow the enemies from the looks of it. So after the Iron Man part we go to a helicopter with Black Widow inside and then she says, "Bruce, it's your turn." So Bruce is now ready to join the fight, so you take control over the Hulk. And the Hulk really is completely different. Like he was grabbing enemies and then holding them while smashing other enemies. You can throw these enemies away against other enemies, and he's like drumming on the ground as well. What they also did is jump and then actually jump higher to do this Hulk smash and likely make it even stronger. The Hulk can also grab boulders and throw them to enemies and also wall run. Like sometimes that was needed because the bridge was collapsing and he was just running from wall to wall. Between the action you will have some small cutscenes and sometimes even a quick time event before you move on and fight again. And now after the Hulk you get control over Captain America, who lost contact with the other Avengers and is now on his own. Just like Thor's weapon, he can also throw his shield and get it back, and he also has a ton of uppercut abilities like punching the enemies in the air and then following up with some other punches. You can hold up the shield to like block the enemy's attack and then punch that shield to send out a shockwave against the enemy. And I think we saw the ultimate ability from him as well, where he jumped in the air and then smashed the shield on the ground, pushing all the enemies away in the process. The animations were very fluid, just like for the other heroes, but we got one left, because now we see the Sonic Disruptor bump and Taskmaster that has the detonator, and now he switched to Black Widow to take him on. First you gotta jump a lot, because again the bridge is collapsing, and then you jump on Taskmaster who is flying around, and when you jump back on the almost completely destroyed Golden Gate Bridge, you see that Black Widow now has the detonator, but Taskmaster wants it back, so the battle begins. And as you expect, Black Widow is really fast. You can easily dodge away from the red circles that appear on the ground to indicate that an enemy is doing an attack there, and it seems like that when you dodge with Black Widow at the right time, there will be this short slow motion. Black Widow has two guns with rechargeable ammo, so when you aim you easily see the amount of ammo displayed on the screen and it will recharge again over time. She also has the Widow's Bite, obviously her electric sticks, to do some fast attacks as well. And this battle is not just in one location. Like every time you fight for a short time and then immediately switch to another location, you get some explosions, and at one point Taskmaster is like, "Always wondered what killing an Avenger would feel like." Well, keep wondering, says Black Widow. So small dialogues like that in between the battle, and they also talk during the fight. It's really cool. And during this battle Taskmaster gets more moves while still using his old ones, like he has a sword and shield at one point and throws mines on the ground that you can destroy by shooting with the guns of Black Widow. It looked like a very awesome and dynamic fight, and of course in the end you win. And then you kill Taskmaster, at least it looked like that. But he was just a distraction. The Avengers were played, and then you see how everything is going to shit thanks to the explosion. You saw that in the trailer, of course, as well. And then that other cutscene plays where they talk about what happened like 5 years ago, like this Avengers Day happened 5 years ago, and then kind of the game starts. And I really hope that we will see missions like this throughout the whole game, because they were high-paced, super varied, thanks to the amount of vehicles that you would destroy. Like there were tank vehicles, other types of vehicles, enemies with guns, but also with shields and other weapons, and you fought them like in a relatively short period of time and then immediately moved on to the next scene. Like we see that sometimes in first missions of games that they are super cinematic and they want to make sure that you play all the heroes and feel as them. So I really hope that this is an indication of what is happening throughout the whole campaign, and not that this is just the awesome opening mission and after that it will be less cinematic. So right now, from the sounds of it, there will be like a story campaign like this, but also more repeatable missions, because again, they want you to invest a lot of time in this game, likely get some cool loot for your character, so there will be less story heavy missions, I'm sure of it. But the gameplay looked fun enough, and like it had a ton of depth and variety, so even if the missions will be less story heavy like this, I think it will still be a ton of fun to play. I really hope that they put the gameplay online. I think they will likely, but again, nothing is confirmed. Let me know how you think this sounded. Again, I'm really excited. What they showed was really cool. We still don't know a lot about this game. I will try and dig up some more info from E3 and talk about that in a future video. So don't subscribe for way more on Marvel's Avengers. A like on this video would be super appreciated. Check out my previous video with a lot of important details that we got on the game that they shared during the Square Enix press conference. For now though, I will speak to you next time, and goodbye.